I'm a busy man, I know. I don't take it for granted, though. I consider myself to be very grateful that I'm able to, get to tell these stories and that people seem to like them and people care enough to ask questions about them, and so that makes me happy, honestly.
So where are we going in season 2?
Season 1 was really about people trying to kind of come. There was an epidemiological crisis that turns into this vampire apocalypse, and most people are like, oh, wait, people are turning into vampires? So we've gone from denial and disbelief into acceptance, and then by the beginning of season 2, most people accept, yeah, there are these vampires here. So the question of season 2 is, what are we going to do about it? And it's really about all of the characters, each in their own way, kind of trying to confront how are we going to stop the spread of this vampire plague. So like Corey Stoll and Mia Maestro's characters, basically as epidemiologists, try to engineer a way to wipe out the vampires. Satrakian is looking for the Osita Lumen, this mysterious book that may or may not hold the answers to how to wipe out the master. Gus and Fat are just trying to kill as many vampires as possible. So the show is really much more, the motto for the season of sort of fight or die is very apt, I think. And Samantha Mathis is a new character who's a councilwoman from Staten Island who basically sort of suspends traditional civil liberties and decides to wipe the vampires out of Staten Island and succeeds in doing that. So then the question is, do you want to put someone like that in charge? Someone who may guarantee your safety, but at the cost of sort of some of the intrinsic basic elements of a democratic society that we all, value. So what kind of trade-offs there? Yeah, the feelers. Yeah. The feelers are basically blind children that have been turned into these super speedy, really horrific vampire creatures, and they are awesome. And they're a creation of Guillermo and Chuck's from the book, and we sort of decided this was a great way to ramp up the force of opposition in season 2. I mean, one of the things I love about the books that drew me to the project is there's sort of multiple layers of antagonism. In The Walking Dead, you've got one kind of zombie. In our show, we have all sorts of different types of vampires with different agendas and different powers, and that's super fun as a writer to have all those tools in the tool chest.
How do you see the importance of vampires besides the healers in season 2?
We will learn a lot more about the ancients. There's obviously Mr. Quinlan, who is another mythic creature who also very much comes into play. So yes, there's a lot more. We expand out our knowledge of the vampire side of things significantly in season 2. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Are we going to follow the story of the second book, or you're mixing
the second season is really the first half of the second book, but it's 80% invented. I mean, the show follows some very basic, the sort of fundamental narrative, but as I said, literally 80% of the story, including characters like Justine, played by Samantha Mathis, or the Dutch character, they don't even exist in the books, and the fate and the outcomes and the proportion of time we spend with the characters is vastly different, which I think is great. I think it's the right thing to do. Take these, make the version for television that's our own. So it's generally connected to the books and relies on the wonderful base that the books provides, the storytelling. But it's a lot of cool original story.
Do you have
Well, I'm gonna finish your question. Yeah.
Is there like a single arc for the season, or are there multiple arcs that maybe bleed into 3?
They're different. Each character has their own arc, and they overlap. The characters are all really. Most of the characters are living at Vet's place, and so they have different pursuits, but they kind of come back together, and they all sort of remain a bit of a team. But the characters have their own agendas, and they're approaching trying to solve this vampire crisis each in their own way, and so the show's a little bit more of a mosaic than a single narrative.